You good?
I've been better.
All right. So today we're doing Movement by New Order, their first album. And here's one thing I will say,
Their first album.
Yeah.
Not really, but kind of.
Their first,
New Order's first album, but their third.
Yeah. I'm impressed you know that.
You said it first, but I did know that. If I would have thunk hard enough.
So here's what I'll say. Part of the fun of doing this is that I don't know what he thinks until we start it, or vice versa. Like, I'm kind of curious, like, ooh, what is Aaron going to say about this? But he's made it very clear many times what his thoughts are on this. So he kind of ruined the fun for me, and I was pissed when he first told me. So I'm just going to say, if you're like me and you like New Order, strap in. Strap in.
Good on ya. Strap on?
Yes, sir.
Good on ya. What's it called?
Movement.
Got it.
So, Movement.
Damn, I only have two things for.
Pretty pivotal post-punk entering into it's the transitionary album from post-punk into that synth pop, synth wave, new wave, 80s style. Let's pull it up.
It is, I think it is the transitional cornerstone of 70s to 80s.
Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, Joy Division doesn't sound very 70s. When you think of like 70s music, you don't think Joy Division, but it definitely sounds more analog and real than this more like robotic feel of like this cold factory album. It gives me like imagery of like this cold like factory like churning the music out with like robot. It's like dark and emotionless, but I kind of like the vibes here. I mean, I've always had this as my favorite New Order album. I've heard Power, Corruption, and Lies, which is what most people consider their favorite. I like this album better, but Rate Your Music does not have it as high. So if you go to their whole albums and you rate it by average, Movement is fifth. It's pretty much the bottom of their 80s material. So it is not really held in that high regards for a New Order fan. But I've heard a little bit of Technique, and that album sounded annoying. So
this is your favorite album by them?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting.
I like Joy Division, so I like how transitionary it is. I know they haven't quite gotten their footing yet, but I like the hint of the Joy Division in the background where they're kind of like trying to catch their footing after Ian Curtis tragically committed suicide.
So for those of you who don't know, can I just say it's a rock band, English rock band formed in the 1980 in the year 1980. Yeah. It's basically a regroup of the members of Joy Division after the suicide of their lead singer Ian Curtis.
Have you heard any Joy Division at all?
No.
Do you recognize the album cover though?
Yes.
You haven't heard that album?
No.
That is probably the biggest album you've never heard. I think last week I said
probably
the biggest album you never heard was what was it?
One by Cure? Wasn't the Cure?
No. There was some album that you said you hadn't heard and you were.
I remember.
Yeah, but this Unknown Pleasures is definitely number one if you haven't heard that album. So you should get on it.
Okay. The former members of Joy Division, vocalist and guitarist Bernard Sumner, bassist Peter Hook, drummer Stephen Morris, and they recruited a keyboarder, Gillian Gilbert.
Maybe it was Loveless. Was it Loveless?
No, we mentioned that just today.
Oh yeah, we did.
Gillian Gilbert.
I like that. I remember reading that name like, ouch.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, buddy. They have one of the best-selling singles, the best-selling single of all time, though.
On this album?
No. But the band has the best-selling single of all time. Blue Monday.
Yeah, of course.
Which I did listen to.
It's all right.
I think that song is amazing.
No, you don't.
You're right.
I know you're not a huge 80s guy, So I knew we were taking a leap. I wanted this out. I didn't want to give you an 80s album that didn't feel 80s. This album very distinctly feels 80s. So I was like, let's throw
Okay.
on some 80s music.
I like
for this thing.
B-52s.
Yeah, but that's
It's
not
80s.
like quintessential 80s sound. The new wave is the genre of the 80s, I feel like. That's
Okay.
safe to say.
Anyways, their debut album released on November 13th, 1981. So the band formed a little bit about a year before this album was released, but it was recorded in 10 days during the spring of 1981.
The reason I think that is probably because, you know, Ian Curtis, the band was not planning. They weren't broken up. They were making music.
Yeah, and some of the stuff was
sure
from Ian
a lot
Curtis.
of it just straight up sounds like Joy Division, except
Does Joy
like a
Division
little
sound
colder.
like this though? Because I thought that this album was, from what I read, quite a shift in their sound repertoire.
Ceremony sounds like Joy Division.
I was gonna say Ceremony and Procession do sound quite different
Yeah.
than the rest of the album.
This album's a bit more colder and, like I said, robotic. The synths are more like the synths are taking over, like from the post-punk, like, you know, rawness. It feels, yeah, I would say that's the biggest change from New Order to Joy Division. But if you hear like earlier versions of the tracks, which I've done, I've dug through that. I've actually I did the
Like demos?
no, not necessarily demos, but there are some songs that you could just hear like earlier versions, like they were released in multiple stages of their
Okay.
creation, and yeah, some of the earlier versions are better. Some of the later versions are better. Just depends track for track. It's like Ceremony's later version is more New Order sounding, and it still sounds really good. I prefer the earlier version though. I for this album, I decided to rank both the original album and the collector's edition because the collector's edition has a few tracks that were just singles that came out in the same era of, you know, around the time that this album was
A few
coming out.
months after, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And those songs are so good, in my opinion. They're maybe one of my favorite 80s songs of all time is one of those two songs. Ever.
reviews range from green to an orangey red.
For this album.
Yeah.
It's for people. Yeah, it is a bit of a switch over. So I could see people not adjusting to it at first. But speaking of green to orangey red,
Yeah, I was gonna say
this
we have to
album
show
cover
the
is
album
fire,
covers because
bro.
that is not what shows up on Apple Music at all.
Not this.
These album covers, I do not think so. No,
This is the album cover.
not on Apple Music.
What, dude? This album cover is freaking sick, dude.
I know, like that we
actually
needed to
wanted to
use
get-
those. The artist was like a futurist. He's like some Italian dude.
I wanted to get that on back when COVID was a big problem. Oh, is it just this?
Yeah, it kind of looks like
Oh
that.
my
I think.
God, bro, that's trash.
I thought it was a little bit darker shade of blue, but
probably just different screens.
I mean, yeah, it
That's
was.
stupid. This looks so much cooler.
Yeah. So we gotta show these. Go back to it. We gotta show these. No.
Oh,
Yeah, the other ones. The other ones that are good.
Oh. Where am I going? Where's Wikipedia? There it is. Yeah, these
Yeah.
are fire.
So these are all different versions.
I'm pretty sure Cade
US
has a-
vinyl.
I'm pretty sure Cade has one of these cassettes on like a Walkman, and he took a picture and sent it to me. I'm like, that's freaking sick. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I remember someone I know has this cassette, the little like the skinny rectangle one, and it looks freaking sick.
Cool.
I love the color. Like I like how this looks. a
No,
lot.
hell yeah.
I wanted to get it on a face mask because I thought it would have been sick. And 80s music used to be my favorite music. So at that time, this was one of my favorite albums.
Barf
But
take.
now 80s is probably more towards the bottom of the decade since the 1950s. There's still plenty of good 80s music, but as a totality, it's a little more superficial and mids.
It was like I would describe it as like, okay, we're gonna speed up even though there's a cliff. And somehow that will save us.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Produced by Martin Hannett, who worked with them during their Joy Division years, and it
Okay.
was him that preferred the atmospheric electronic sound.
Yeah. Okay.
The other bandmates didn't like it as much, and they hated working with this guy.
Wow,
And
so
they're
he
not a
kinda
huge
crafted the
fan.
sound.
Yeah, they're not a huge fan of this album as a
That makes
whole.
sense. They honestly wanted to go more in a dancey direction, which you can see with albums later on. It's more synth pop.
Yeah, this is
not
the
as much
last
new
album that they
wave.
worked with him. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, they definitely had a lot of disagreements with him, and he was a big drug and alcohol abuser, and he was uncooperative in his nature, and
It gives kind of a grittiness to the album, though. I kind of like that.
sure. Yeah, so they weren't really very pleased with the way it turned out. Where do I have it? Yeah, the band hated the production and felt like the beginning of the album was good, and then it kind of loses its touch, though some members still like the album, but they understand why other people kind of don't.
I mean, there's only 8 songs, so.
Yeah. Initially unsure of who would take vocals. They kind of experimented. All 3 members tried to decide. Eventually, it ended up being Sumner, but Peter Hook did do tracks 1 and 7. And I think that's.
Tell the difference.
I can tell. I was gonna say I think it's a very obvious difference.
I think the '80s vocal style of like really deep and monotone and washed out, kind of whispery, huge sound in this decade. So both of them seem so like whispery and monotone and flat that to me they sound pretty similar. I honestly didn't notice a difference.
I can definitely tell a difference on track 7.
Honestly, I didn't know that was a thing until doing a little bit of research when I was going through the deluxe or collector's edition, but I forgot to actually listen for it. So I can't say that I recognize it off the dome piece. But.
I feel like you only recognize it if you know.
Yeah.
Sumner, however, found it impossible to sing and play guitar at the same time, which I frankly agree with. That shit is hard as fuck.
Yeah, seriously.
So
even singing and like tapping when I'm like tapping on the steering wheel in my car, you can't sing while doing that. It's so hard.
It is hard. It's like a tapping your head and rubbing your belly kind of thing. You have to start with one and then the other, though. Notice how you did that?
No, I just did it. Sync.
Right, but when you first did it, you started with one and then added the other once you got like the motion of the first one as like a repetitive memory.
Oh wait, shoot! I just rubbed my head and then tapped my
exactly,
belly.
Yeah. Once you, and it's probably the same thing. Once you play guitar and then start singing, if you know the song, it probably gets a little bit easier. But I don't know. What do I know? Hang on, let me fix my mic. Okay.
That's all you have on the research?
No. A lot of songs refer to Curtis and his passing. Yeah. Very tragic. I.C.B. was confirmed in 2013 to be an initialism for Ian Curtis buried.
Yeah, I had that written on my song notes.
I already talked about the cover artist.
Sick.
He was a big futurist. He did a lot of graphic design, a lot of visual work, not just artists, stuff like that. Collector's edition doubles the track listing and then some. So.
Yep, 10 more tracks. But to be fair, some of them are the same track multiple times. Temptation and Ceremony get 2 places because they're different versions of the songs. One's the earlier version, so they have a bit.
Which one did I hear of Ceremony?
You heard the correct one.
How do you know?
Because, oh shoot. It's the bigger. It's like the one that has way more listens.
Apple Music just shows me the album, and I definitely probably click the first track. Is that the one?
No, it's not. Oh wait,
this one.
It's not.
You sure?
I'm sure, 100%.
I haven't heard the other one then. I didn't realize that there was 2. Is it really that different though?
It's a whole completely different song.
What did I write about him? Don't look. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
This version is so much softer and more touching. The other one is way more cold and
Oh, well, it's probably that one that I would have liked more anyways.
No.
Okay, well, also you don't know what I like, so I'm just
Nobody likes this one. I'm just kidding. It's not even bad. I actually like it a lot. All right, should we just dig into the tracks then? Track number 1, Dreams Never End. Now, this song, speaking of the original version of Ceremony, this song gives me much, much more of those vibes. It's very light on the synth work. It's just it's just great post-punk. It's a short little soft track. It's got a little bit more of that emotional, like, realness to it. It has that quintessential 80s deep, kind of monotone, whispery vocals, and it sounds extra good. The little British tinge, like the little stink they put on the words, sounds a little better than if an American bloke were to say it. I like the lyrics a lot too. They read like a poem. If you see how they're formatted, at least on the lyric website that I pulled them up on, it really does look and read like a poem. It's a calming, serene song for me. It's very pretty, and I love the harmonies as well when multiple people get in on the singing. Let's pull up those lyrics though. Do you have any thoughts on track 1?
I do, but I also don't want to talk about them because of this little side note. Should I talk about this at all?
I don't know what the side note is. Is it about this song?
It's about why I don't like describing songs and why I dislike them.
You don't like saying why you don't like a song?
Well, like, here's what I have written. There are no words that encapsulate, like,
the feeling,
an adverse emotion towards a song, and I think that it's sometimes pointless. I can say one thing about a song on why I dislike it, and then use the exact same words to describe why I like a different song.
This sounds like your brain just doesn't...
Yeah, some stuff just clicks with a person, with who a person is, and I think that's...
I have noticed that. There have been many a times that you've said, I don't really like this song because of this, and then you've praised another song for that same exact thing.
And that's the kind of music...
That's just kind of a you thing, to be honest.
Well, for me, it sounds to me that it's the kind of music that one will come to identify with, like, once you click with it. There's not words that describe why you identify with it. That's just musically describes a part of your nature.
This very much sounds like the music is completely subjective side coming out. So you are coming from a standpoint that I completely fundamentally disagree with right now.
If all it comes down to is saying that a song is cringe, then words have failed to describe, because cringe is different to you than to somebody else.
Well, cringe has a real word with a real definition.
I know, but if somebody feels cringe, that definition, say
it's a bit broad.
Something is cringe to one person doesn't always mean that it's going to be described exactly the same to another person.
Some people love
if
cringe.
all it comes down to is the song is good or if this song is cringe, then words have failed to describe. There are no words though. It always, if you try to describe, like we've had conversations where all it comes down to, it's just goofy. That's what you've said before. And I'm like, what is that? That's not a description of why. No, that's what you end with. You're like, I've just talked about it. It's just goofy. And I'm like that. See, words have failed to describe.
Well, once I finish my English degree, then we can start talking. Because then I'll say not only is it goofy, but let me use these other adjectives that might better encapsulate my thoughts. But my vocab is small still. I haven't read a dictionary yet. So yeah, here's the lyrics here.
So like I can still describe why I don't like the song. I just don't like to do it.
Will you?
I'm going to say a lot about this, most of the songs. Production on Dreams never ends, or the production on Dreams Never End ruins what the guitar could have sounded like to me, and the keyboardist sounds are way too drowned out, drums are too poppy, vocals are too atmospheric, all a result...
Too atmospheric? Why, though?
All a result of the production. The production tries to do this, like, atmospheric, all-encompassing sound, and that's the kind of... I mean, it's just really it's like the keynote of like post-punk or like 80s new wave. It's like that. It's like Depeche Mode and
they all have that.
The Police, like that kind of stuff. That
The Police is of a different.
The Police does a little bit of atmospheric stuff in their production sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of. It's all a result of the production. And like I say in the second song, like production error. It's like I'll repeat it all throughout the album.
Okay, so you would have preferred... So let me hear the drums thing that you're referring to. So I'm going to play the actual song, and then
I said the drums are too poppy.
Yeah, I'm curious what that means. Is it
It means like pop style drums.
Is it like the arena, like, is it the fact that the drums aren't real? They're like artificial?
No, it's not that.
Is it? Oh, it's that classic boom.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the classic formulaic drums.
Yeah, it is.
That is used all the time in pop.
I agree. That is
so
true. I noticed that throughout the album. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of just doing that, isn't it? I like it in this song a little more.
It's not bad. It can be done good. It can be done good.
When you said pop drums, I'm like, well, you don't dislike Michael Jackson. Those drums are as like crisp and sharp and poppy as it gets. But
Michael Jackson has some good. I watched a video on Michael Jackson's drum making the other day, and that shit was pretty sick.
Insanely good.
So,
but his cleanness is poppy. You know, like how sharp and perfect everything is.
Yeah.
But
it was the producer talking about it too, how it was kind of made. Okay. So.
All right. Well, it's not too. The lyrics don't.
But like again, like I'm not a big. No. Okay. So I have some stuff about the lyrics for the whole album. I mean.
Okay. This song is the one where the lyrics stick out mainly for me.
The lyrics, to me, this is what I wrote, are not at all relatable, other than trying to. Well, maybe I wrote that wrong. They're not at all relatable to me, and I feel like they're trying too hard to be recondite and esoteric. I'm like, they're trying hard to be too hard to be poetic.
This is just a pretty song. It's just like you're talking about.
This is what I would write if I was like in 7th grade and my English teacher asked me to write a poem or something.
You're not that good.
I don't think it's good. That's the whole point.
What about this is bad? It's not like edgy or cringy or.
It's cringy to me.
Why? I'm asking why.
That's what I can't explain. Like it just makes me feel like this is cringe.
That's why objectivity is a good perspective, because you can thematically
that nobody has
explain things, because it's not just that's just my opinion. You hit me with that's just my opinion.
Exactly. Cringe. Words have failed to describe a feeling, because a feeling is a feeling. It's not a word. Feelings
have words to describe
no,
them.
They don't. Yes, feelings are way more complex than the words used to describe them. That's like trying to describe colors to a blind person.
No.
If somebody didn't have feelings and you tried to use words to describe a feeling, it would not work.
Well, the words just are the feel. Like the words have descriptions. The feelings
no, a feeling is something that you feel.
Warmth.
If somebody never felt warmth, how do I describe that to them? Oh, it's just warm. Like that's just the definition, feelings, man.
So we know what that means.
No, I mean there's some people that are.
Because I'm not we all have emotions, so we
yeah, but they're all different. Words get the closest to like linking them. That's all words do.
Whatever.
So like I don't know. If I were to try, I mean, there's nothing like we just did MF Doom, and like there was like a silliness in that. There was like a comical, exactly. But like Dark Side of the Moon, there's no silliness and it's serious. But I feel like it's a lot more poetic. Maybe it's just the relatability. I don't know.
Is it if these lyrics were in a song that you sonically liked and related to?
That's a good question.
I feel like that would probably help.
Yeah, but I probably wouldn't like the lyrics. Still, I'd probably be like, all right, it's whatever lyrics. Like, what's a good album with shitty lyrics? You know what I mean? There's plenty of them.
Yeah.
So.
Or at least mediocre.
Yeah. And this is like that. It's like, okay, these are mediocre lyrics.
I think it's pretty and touching, but I'm a human.
Right. I can see that though. I think it's yeah, so it would be relatable. I think it would be relatable to a lot of people, but not to me. It's not relatable to me.
Not very many things relate to you. You're eccentric.
Smashing that bass guitar on the wall right now would be pretty relatable.
Track 2, Truth. So this is much more of that new wave, like cold wave, like heartless sound. Has like this kind of rudimentary, like dark, like not dark, rather just like cold synth, emotionless atmosphere. It really gives like me the feeling of them like playing or creating this in like a factory, like a metal gray factory.
That's a good descriptor. Mm-hmm. I never thought about it like that. See, there's where words do help. That's where words do help.
Genre industrial is not the correct genre that this is, but the word
it feels industrial, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels like industrial.
And I like that. I think that's an interesting style.
The literal.
And I think that is a staple of the 80s, that sort of industrial feel.
And it bled on to into the 90s too. Yeah, I like that, the cold rudimentary synth, but there's also sections that interrupt that emotionlessness with some guitars and drums that go out kind of in a more post-punk fashion, much more Joy Division-esque. And towards the end, back to the colder rudimentary synths part, there's like these like squealing sounds and like creaking that happens kind of in the distance, just towards the last few like minute of the song, I think. And it sounds like what, with this like factory imagery in my mind, it sounds like door hinges, like big metal door hinges, like closing and opening. It gives this like dark, cold ambiance. It's not a very warm and touchy, like, okay, it can be touching at times, but it's not a very warm and comforting album. It's robotic, and I like that about it. It's interesting. I like it, but I could see how many people wouldn't.
You want to see what I wrote?
For this song
Yeah.
specifically? Yes.
Keyboard should be louder, production error.
I don't know production stuff. I couldn't care. Like, I don't think I've ever.
I wish I could
complained
remix
since
it
the
to a way
50s.
that I like it. Every song I've ever heard, I could remix them to the point that I
Ever?
like them. I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely make this song to something that I would like.
Okay. That's all you had for that song? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You have bulleted like that. I see. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, Senses, this is like peak factory vibes, is this song. There's like metallic clanging happening throughout.
I hate this song.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you're not into the factory vibes.
It's not the factory
like
vibe.
the weird, quirky.
I do like those weird sound
Oh, you
effects
do
that
like the
come
weird
everywhere.
sounds.
It's
Okay.
it's the chorus like guitar twanging that sounds
Let's
out
hear
of context for the album and is produced so horribly.
I don't know production stuff. Let's hear it.
Now this is like a jam. I heard something that was repetitive.
It's still going.
Yeah, I think this was it. Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean,
I feel like it sounded worse when I heard it.
that's what I was going to say.
It's not as bad,
mean,
I feel like, but
I don't get twangy from that. It just seems like it's post-punk. It's
yeah,
just going,
something was twangy. Maybe I didn't listen to the right spot, but I remember hearing. No, this sounds kind of twangy. It sounds like kind of in the upper high.
Like,
Yeah, but it sounds like. Well.
Think of like country when you think it. Twang.
Right, it's not super twangy, but.
It's electric guitar. You're just strumming it, bro.
Yeah, but it's definitely on like the lower. Like I feel like he's doing somewhat of a D chord. Like it's definitely on the, or not the lower, the higher pitched strings that do like inherently sound twangy when you strum them.
Okay.
Those higher pitched strings. So
Okay.
I think it was.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I was thinking this would be a love or hate song for you, because I thought you would either, I didn't think the guitar would be the problem. I thought you'd either hate the sound effects or you'd like the sound effects.
I do like the
'Cause
sound
there's, like,
effects. The drumming
hammer
is sick.
clanking and
Yeah.
the drumming that's rolling through. Sounds
But
really
it's not
cool.
enough.
Especially in headphones, it sounds way sick.
Mm-hmm.
I like the bass line too. This album throughout just has like nice, like noticeable bass lines that play throughout. They're
Kind
not
of
too
boring
complicated.
though, right? Yeah,
They're
they're
just
kind of
cool.
just
There's,
one or
like-
two or three notes.
That's how punk is. This is the evolution of punk, bro. Punk never has good bass
Punk
lines,
wasn't
like
good
interesting
until
bass
like
lines.
2000s.
That's a hot take. Like all
I don't
punk
like
peaked in
all
the
of-
70s and 80s.
Yeah, I don't like any of that.
Okay,
And that's like
fair
real
enough.
punk. Like I hate when people
Yeah,
are like,
real
"What kind of
punk.
music do you like?" And I'm like, "Punk," but like not that kind of punk.
And
you
also
know?
not like Blink 182 either, right?
No.
Okay.
So like
No,
I don't
actually
know.
love
I don't.
Dookie. I love Dookie by Green Day.
No, I don't know what to say when people ask me like like art punk, but like
Yeah, art punk wasn't a thing in the 80s, I don't think. So I'd
most,
say
but
that's
like
safe
Black
to
Lips
say.
isn't art punk. I guess garage rock. Garage rock. That's really what I
Okay.
just need to say.
I also like, there's like a call and response between the singer like delivering his emotionless lines, and then this like synth that comes, whoa, and this sounds really deep and dark.
They got the
then it-
drone on.
Yeah, it's got
The
that
droning.
drone. It sounds sick. There's a lot of little nice attention to details in this song, as strange as it is. I'd say it's very Joy Division-esque, except like if you were to place them in that factory, that cold like emotionless factory, I'd be shocked if this song wasn't originally made during the Joy Division era, and then they added stuff on top of it to make it more 80s and futuristic. Like the guitar and bass work that you don't like, that screams like Joy Division-y post-punk to me.
I can't see that. I've never heard Joy Division, but I don't think so. Like, it doesn't sound like Ceremony. Like, the production on that guitar is like, I don't know.
The
It
production
doesn't
is
sound.
different. The production is
Yeah,
different.
well, the producer worked with them on Joy
Yeah,
Division,
but it
though, which is
certainly
weird.
isn't electronic-y at all during their first or only 2 albums.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
Oh, the end of the song's sick too. Actually, I remember at the end of it, there's
Damn,
all
I'm
these,
just
like,
dumb.
80s at what?
I just can't explain my feelings. That's just called being dumb.
I was thinking that, but I wasn't gonna say it.
All right.
There's like all these synths that add on top of each other when it's just really like all over it. I'm gonna actually play it because it sounds sick.
That is impressive to you?
No, it just sounds cool. There's just a lot. No, it's not impressive. It's not like technically impressive at all. But
Well,
I like how
that's
there's
what I
like
meant.
3
Like,
synths
that is
going
something that makes you
on.
like, okay, this is sick.
Yeah.
For
It sounds
real?
sick. I like layered instruments. It's cool. If it was just one guy going,
That's like 2
there's
instruments.
3. There's 3 synths going on. At least
Dude,
it sounds
this
like
synth
there's
right
3.
here can do 4 different voices in one. So it's
Cool,
one
and
instrument.
Actually use that. That would be
It's
sick.
one instrument.
Do that. Oh, it could be, yeah.
It's just a bunch of different voices.
I love
which-
that. That's sick.
It's just
like
one
how it
instrument
sounds.
playing a
I didn't
sound.
say it was technically advanced.
I know,
None of this
I
album
know.
is. It
Fair
just sounds
enough.
Cool. I like it.
Fair enough. That's some I'm using some Logan logic. Whenever he hears like Damaged Bug, he's like, "This is so easy to make," and it's like,
Yeah, who cares?
it sounds
You know,
sick.
one of the albums we're
True.
gonna talk about in the future, stupid simple, stupidly.
That can
easy
still,
to
you
make.
could still be
So
good.
Easy, like it's almost pathetic.
It's
But
like
it
all of the
sounds
Beatles,
So sick.
except for their later
It's
stuff.
so chill, and the vibes are so good that I still love the album. I don't care if all he did was slow down songs that already
Yeah,
existed.
no, I agree with you. I said
Sounds
I made a
sick.
stupid argument.
You're just like bashing on yourself today. You're stupid, and your arguments are stupid. Are you okay, buddy?
I'm good. Math equation fading, but
I know, rip. Chosen time.
is this track 4? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So I say this is,
Worst on the album, bro. This one and the third one, 3 and 4, were my least favorites.
oh, okay. I think it's fine. I like it. It has the same kind of post-punk new wave factory sound as the other 2 songs, like track 2 and 3. Other than it's faster and more energetic. It's much higher tempo, like quicker tempo. I liked the guitar work. I'm assuming you're not going to like it. And I
It
was
wasn't
just
the
saying, even
guitar
though
work.
a lot of the time it sounds pretty distant and in the background like fuzzed out and echoed out, but I kind of like how
That's
sounds.
that atmospheric
Mhm.
production.
I also said, let's not forget the end of the track with all these warbling and clipping electronic sounds happening. This ending is way cooler than Sense's ending. Before you tear the song apart, let's get that ending. I think you'd at least like the ending of the song. Now this might.
Don't do high quality because it's gonna make me like it. That's what we did last time. I'm just kidding.
It sounds crazy.
It reminds me
that
of
would've
Flume.
sounded Way sick. Straight in a spaceship. You got abducted from the factory into the spaceship. So my predictors for what you don't like about the song is the drumming.
Nope.
It's very. Oh, okay. Because it's got that generic boom, tss, like style of like generic pop.
I mean, a lot of what I said about the first song can carry
Yeah.
throughout the album.
The drums are nothing incredible for, I'd say, 90% of the tracks. There's maybe a couple songs where I'm like, oh, I
Well,
like
it's also like impressive drums doesn't need to be. It's just not good sounding.
It's that.
Well, I'm
80s
not
sound.
saying
It's
that about the album.
sterile-
I'm not saying that about this album or the song.
I
I'm
see what
saying
you're
I'm
saying.
saying like maybe you should rephrase to a point because like they don't need to be like super complex drums to sound
I
good.
like complex.
Yeah, but like
Ringo is simple.
and that's
sounds
still
fine,
can
yeah.
sound good.
Yeah.
So it's not the fact that it's simple.
Well, what I'd say is that for the 80s, one of the worst
just
aspects
not-
of the 80s is the synth style drums, the arena drums, where they're very flat and sterile. They don't have like any shimmer, like a cymbal. Instead of going, psh, it's just, flat. I don't
Huh.
know music terms, but 80s drums feel very sterile and not very lush. And I like the lush.
I think that was done
sound.
on purpose. For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Because it seems like 80s was kind of moving into this like futuristic sound where everything's all technological and electronic. So like these natural sounding drums were not the vibe that people were going for, even though I prefer it. That's why the first version of Ceremony is better. Now you get to rip the song apart. Go for it.
It's the low end repetitive keyboard riff that makes up the base of the song that is just cringe.
Is it that?
Yeah.
It's all right. I don't love it. I don't love this song at all.
Like, that sounds like something I would have made like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but they did it way earlier, back before it was like basic and lame.
You realize 5 years ago I was like 16.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people did some cool shit when they were 16.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know,
I did not make good
Eruption,
music at 16
bro,
though.
Like when that song came out, that solo.
Sucks.
I know, but when that, I actually don't agree, but whatever. When that solo came out, that was mind blowing. But
no,
then,
it is.
like,
It's a mind
30
melter.
years later, there are high schoolers who can play that.
Yeah.
Before that was like top echelon of guitarists.
No, I don't agree with that actually. Everybody and their mom knew how to play guitar up until like the
Not
50s.
Eruption though. No
Dude,
one in the 50s could play Eruption.
I guarantee.
Dude.
Well, no, I guess it was a new
wasn't-
style of music, huh?
The technicality wasn't there.
I bet more people than just Mr. Van Halen could have
I'm
played
sure.
it.
Yeah, I said
Like
upper
a lot
echelon,
more.
but not
No, like a
kids.
lot
You
more.
think a kid in the 80s could
I
have
think
played that?
I think there's a lot of people in this world who go their whole lives doing something amazing but never get credit for it.
It's probably true.
And I think Eddie Van Halen is definitely not the best guitarist in the world, and there's
No.
people that nobody's heard of that are 10 times better than him.
Probably, almost certainly.
And I think at the
Statistically, I'm sure
time
that's
there's
true.
maybe not 10 times more better than him, but like 3 times better than
Right,
him.
but essentially what I'm getting at is when things are new, they usually aren't at their best proficiency-wise and complexity-wise.
Fair.
So this sound was new in the 80s. So
Okay.
it didn't have to be that well done, I guess, because it's a whole new sound. Like people are interested just for the novelty of this new genre.
Right.
So that's my defense of this song, which I don't even love. It's fine. I like it.
I think it's the worst song on the album. I think that I wrote that the guitar is drowned out and it's weirdly audible. Like audible.
Yeah, I said it was drowned out too.
Audible implies like, can you hear it or not? And you can hear it, but it's weird that you can hear it. You know, like I feel like that's weird. How can I hear this?
He's in the background of the factory.
Yeah, and it's
in a
like,
different room.
and I think again, it's a production thing.
Fair
It's
enough.
not bad. It's just weird. I'm like, this is weirdly audible. How is that? How can I hear this? But I can hear it, so whatever. It sounds drowned out, but weirdly audible, which can be interesting.
Yeah, I honestly
But it's
think
just the keyboard bass that ruins it.
that's fair. I don't love it how it sounds. There's much better and more interesting synth work in this album. It's definitely not
For
just-
sure.
Even though I do like the ending, it's all crazy and clippy and
Yeah, it was
strange.
kind of cool.
I.C.B.
I think this is the best song on the album.
Okay, I like it's pretty similar to the other songs, but that laser synth that goes.
Yeah, I like the weird little sound effects.
Yeah, that stuff sounds sick. It really adds cool.
This song does it
interesting
best, even though it
vibes to
appears throughout the whole album, the
to
weird sound effects.
Yeah, song.
And I think the production is quite a bit better on this for the
Oh,
guitar,
yeah.
for the guitar at least.
Okay.
Yeah, this. I think this is produced way better. Way more out there, way more up front in your face. This I feel like would be like more Joy Division.
For sure.
It's weird that I haven't heard Joy Division, but I can interpolate how they sound, you know? Obviously I need to hear them to get their full...
Just gotta listen to it.
I should.
I mean, that's a staple album of music.
Me?
Like history. No.
I have to listen to it?
Yeah. I recommend that album more than this album, even though I like this one more. It has a higher rating at least. So yeah, I like
Ooh, these are getting cold
the
just chilling
harmony
here.
too, where they all sing "It's so far away" with the guitar going, and then the layers are going pew pew in the background. It's just a cool blend. It sounds unique. It's cool, and the drumming, I will say, in a lot of the songs, I do like the drumming when it's not like this generic pop beat.
Right.
It's kind of these like rolling drums. Boom, 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 boom.
That's
that
an 80s
style.
thing.
It sounds cool. It's like rolling and.
I mean,
it's
rolling isn't an 80s thing,
it's
but
like,
the way they produce it is.
March marching-ish. No, not marching drums.
Marching band
No, it's not at
drums.
all like that.
He said it. Blah 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 blah. I'm gonna make you lose your train of thought. Blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm just kidding.
It's gone. It's gone.
No, no.
It sounds cool.
I'm kidding.
It's got this like.
I'm sorry.
Like.
I'm an asshole.
I don't know the word. It's 2:30 in the morning. I don't remember the word.
It's also words fail.
You fail.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool song.
Cool song.
I like it. Now the hymn, another one of my favorites.
This one was the one that was the least interesting. Like I was like, okay, that was kind of just a blank moment of noise.
This is gothic music forming, bro. This is
maybe I'm just
gothic
not touched
music
by gothic
forming.
music at all.
No, it's supposed to be dark and looming and kind of.
I didn't even get that out of it. I didn't get anything out of it.
Anything out of that deep bass line, like boom, boom.
No, I mean, not necessarily.
The song is
in the same way that you get
awesome.
like a 0 out of Strange Ways or something.
I gave that a +1. I like that song.
Oh, well, 0 out of something other song
The
then.
intro song.
No.
The hymn is another favorite track. I like goth music, and this is like the little seedlings of like gothic.
You hear that,
and
Sean?
post-punk. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Or they or she definitely heard that. Dark looming bass line that sounds. It's dark and looming. I don't get how that doesn't like resonate, like the intimidation.
Well, it's
factor
all
of
kind of dark and looming on the whole album, right? The bass on the whole album.
But the rest of the album feels more emotionless. This feels more like they've left the factory and now they're in like a forest, like a spooky forest.
I did not get
like
that at
castle,
all, bro. This stayed in the
sounds
factory.
spooky.
This song moved
Like the
further
synths-
into the factory.
Heck no, the
This
synths
song
sound like
crosses the
church-
assembly line, which goes on for
No.
10 minutes, and you got to walk
No.
across the whole thing.
The
It's like
synths-
walking down a
no.
wing at UPS.
No. The synths on this are more like they sound almost like choral vocals. They're not like this robot sound. They sound like stupid crash. And the dead vocal delivery sounds even darker and more looming over the dark instrumentals instead of over like these synthy robotic instrumentals.
Who is him? Who is him?
The hymn?
Yeah, who is him?
I don't know, but he's alluded to in the first track where it says,
Yeah,
but never guess how the hymn would scream.
I know who it is.
I assume it's,
Ian Curtis.
yeah. That's right.
That's what you were going to say, huh?
No, it wasn't, but I literally
No, I
did
know
that
it wasn't. I
research.
thought we were being sarcastic. No, never mind.
that
But yeah,
is
I
correct.
think it's Ian Curtis. Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. That's why it's a dark song, because he's a dark dude. The hymn is good. I'm shocked that song doesn't do anything for you. It's the depth of the bass. It's like the boom.
But it's not that, because if it was, I would have recognized it if it was an objective thing that is definitely there, which it is, but like, why does it not affect me the way it affects you?
Well, we come from very different backgrounds of music, so this is completely out of your general listening.
So you think
routine.
it's just like a listening routine
familiarity
thing?
I didn't like rap before I got into rap music. If I were to hear a rap song, I wouldn't get anything out of it.
That's true. It's true,
this
but
genre's foreign to
fuck,
me. I
like,
don't really care for it. But then I dove
that
into
can't
it,
be it,
and I'm
bro.
like, yo, this is actually there's a
That
lot
can't
of
just
funny
be
good
the
songs.
answer. Oh, that's
It's
why it
like- it's
affects
like
some
this-
people more than others.
No, there's obviously more to it than that. It's like your entire upbringing led you to this moment to have a wrong opinion. You know.
That's, first of all, yes, I do agree with that. But that's a subjective thing.
I disagree, but
Well, it's your upbringing.
yeah, but your upbringing is. Remember the laser analogy? Your upbringing is deciding what color you're reflecting, but that's not the color that the laser is actually shining. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah. I'm trying to find out the color that New Order is shining on this song is dark. It's almost black. It's spooky.
Which I get that, but I think it's darker for you than it is for me.
Yeah. And I
But
feel
there's
like
no way
I feel
that's
like
just a
they're
result of familiarity issues,
it has to
conflicts.
Think of this, like think of it like this. Let's go to like visual, like an animal. Okay, Hubert, black cat. For me, all black cats look the same. But
They
for
do.
you, as the owner of Hubert, you can tell Hubert
No.
apart. Bro, you're kidding
No,
me.
dude, I see a lot. Like black cats maybe take one of 3 different looks. Dude, they do mostly look the
Bro.
same.
Mostly, yeah, but you can differentiate because you're new. You're
Between, like,
experienced
3.
with Hubert.
No, I've definitely been like that. Looks exactly like my cat, and like I watch tons of cat videos, so that's a thing too. Like
All right.
I've seen cats all the time. Like
I
that looks
used this
exactly
argument-
like
I used this
Hubert.
argument in my little side pod where I was talking about making my arguments for objective music. And I said like a zookeeper, to us, we look at zebras and like, oh, they're all zebras. They all look the same. But for a zookeeper, he knows, okay, there's Henry, there's Johnny, and there's, you know,
Martin.
sure, Martin. He can tell them apart because he has the experience with those animals. You don't have any emotional attachment to 80s gothic music, so it's not going to hit. It's just not going to hit you.
That's true.
Maybe give
I'm
5
not
years
disagreeing
of, like,
with that,
diving
but
deep into this genre, and you'll start to appreciate some aspects of it. Like, dude, my first rating for To Pimp a Butterfly, which is the first rap album I ever listened to, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start with what everyone says is the best. It was like 50, bro, 50, 50 out of 300. And now it's like, I guess I shouldn't spoil it, but it's more than tripled that.
it's more than 50.
It is more than 50. It's between 50 and
A million.
I'm just kidding. But I think that's what it is. This is that it's foreign.
I don't think it can be just that.
It's not. I'm sure.
But
it's not
that's
just
definitely
that.
what it is. I know that plays a role.
Yeah. This song is moody, gloomy, spooky, good. I like that song a lot. Great song. Love this song. It's kind of similar in structure wise to the song Truth, although not in the sound.
I definitely
at all.
didn't dislike it.
Okay, that's good. Okay. I'm sure.
But it was just like a neutral, the whole song for me.
I'll take that. For you disliking 80s music, neutral is good. I'll take neutral as good. The reason I say it's structured similar to Truth is because it has like these instrumental or it has like a specific vibe that's then cut into by this like post-punk like jam sesh where it goes really fast-paced and energetic, then it slows back down and goes back into, you know, in Truth it's more of that factory vibe, and in this it's more of that spooky castle vibe. I especially like towards the end when he's like whispering, I'm so tired, and he's got all those other things going on. It's like, dang, I don't know, it just touches me, especially knowing that it's about Ian Curtis. Like, I feel like, I don't know.
The fact that it's about Ian Curtis lifts it up a little bit more for me. But
he's tired of life, and he's got this gloomy and dark instrumentals over top. Freaking cool song. Love that song. Now, Doubt's even here.
hang on. Do you want to see what I wrote?
Oh, I thought you already said. Yeah, go for it. Other than the bad production, the whole album.
This song is just mundane and no positive or negative characteristics to me. I get the whole outro switch up was supposed to bring something to the table, but to me it doesn't change much of what was happening before. Okay. So like I said, it was just straight down the middle of
midsness.
Yeah.
I'll take it. If you how do I describe these people? If you dress like what you think a goth looks like and you don't like this song, stop calling yourself a goth.
No, there's like 2 different kinds of goths. There's like the pseudo goth that we see nowadays, and then
about.
So you're talking about the pseudo goth.
If you don't like songs like this at all, and you just want to listen to
that's a fake goth.
You're not a goth. You're like an e-girl. That's what you are, e-girl. There's the e-boys and the e-girls. You're a stinky little e-girler boy. It's fine. Just don't mislabel yourself. This is goth. The Cure, like the sadder songs, that's goth. This, a little more goth.
You're like Randy from Trailer Park Boys. He's always got no shirt and he just burps all the time and he's
Yeah, that's what e-boys are.
Yeah.
And girls. Except on TikTok.
yeah.
Doubts even here. A little bit more on the darker side
Hook,
as well.
Hook. Peter Hook. Vocalist.
Cool.
Ruined it.
Oh yeah? Really?
I
couldn't tell
recognized the difference in vocals and I was
Really?
after
That
I
is
knew
so
that it was him,
interesting.
I was like, oh, that is so bad.
Yeah, I said any Joy Division fan will like this song. It has all the elements of a Joy Division song and much less of the synthy modernism that a lot of the other, I would say like the first half of the song brings to the table. The end of the song is interesting too. You have like these female, not even, I wouldn't say vocalist. She's almost just talking over top the guy who's also talking, and it's all emotionless and that sounds depressed, which adds to like the kind of darkness, moodiness of the track. It's not nearly as atmospheric and all encompassing as the hymn, but it is still more on that darker spectrum of things, which I like. Call me an edgy boy, but I like it. What can I say, my guy? I like it, eh? You're not much of the edgy boy, are you?
Court Jaborn.
Okay, yeah, I guess I just thought he was just singing more. I thought it was the same guy who was just singing more, like his heart out more. But no, yeah, he puts a little more emotion into it. I don't mind how it sounds at all. I will say the rolling drums in this song are particularly of note. They sound really good in this context. They're more, I'd say they're mixed louder, if that's an appropriate term. They sound more noticeable and thunderous. I like the song. What can I say? I like it.
I did write that it is. I understand, however, that this song can be more emotional for some people, especially with regards to Curtis passing away.
Gotcha. Last but not least, kind of more towards the bottom, but it's alright.
It was
Nile.
like comical to me.
Really? I said it's more high energy like Chosen Time, which you hated that song, so I'm not too surprised that you didn't like this one either. I said not much to say about this track compared to the others, other than that I like the synth playing in the background. It happens a few times throughout the song. I like it. I also like the singing in the song, but it kind of applies to the rest. So not too much of a standout.
You like
there.
the singing?
That's what I wrote. I like the 80s delivery. I like that. 80s used to be my favorite. I've grown to like this less, but I still like it. Yeah, I will say, okay, this song is way better than Chosen Time of the two fast-paced songs. Yeah, I like the synths that are like, it's the way I made it sounds stupid, but it sounds cool. You'll put it in post for the fellers and fellettes out there. I don't mind the singing. What's wrong with the singing? Oh, wait. Let me tell you one thing real quick. Because I have a feeling I know what you're going to say. Maybe. But I do remember when I was researching the lyrics of the album, I remember hearing that they had to find like a program that could kind of strip away the instrumentals just so that they would be even intelligible at all. Because it is mixed so low that it really is almost indecipherable.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Pretty much unintelligible post-punk mumbling.
Yeah.
The pop synth trying to add layers too, but it's just drowned out, becomes comical to me.
You think it's, what I could see it being funny is like, okay, that dude is actually not that good at singing. We'll give him the mic though, but we'll just put him over there. So that
it's not the vocals that are comical. Really, it's the synth that's drowned out, but like trying to add layering to the song.
The synth is drowned out, or is it drowning him out?
The pop synth trying to add layers too, but is just drowned out.
Oh, I see. By the drumming? The drumming sounds sick.
Yeah.
So I'll take it. I like it.
The drumming's not bad. I got nothing to say against the drums. But the vocals, bro, I was like, bro, what the fuck is he saying? He's just whining in the mic is what it sounds like to me.
It reminds me of... there's this rap song.
Not that bad.
There's this rap song, and there was a feature... I think it was on a Kanye song actually, and he, you know how he like initially releases albums and they'll like re-release it and kind of fix it and tweak some things. I don't remember for sure if it was Kanye, but I remember hearing about this song that had like 3 or 4 features on it, and one of them was just mixed so much more quietly that you could barely hear them at all.
That's funny.
And then were they like, all right, we have them on the track, but this sounds horrible. Let's just mix it to like half the volume of the others. Which that does make me laugh. So if that's kind of the feel you're getting from this, then yeah, that is kind of funny.
It kind of was.
It's like, I don't like how he sounds in this one. Let's just crank it down. Let's just drown him out with the drums. That's Denial, right? That's the last of the original songs.
Yep.
Cool. So those songs, the original 8. Now that for the collector's edition tracks, I'm just gonna quickly make note of the other songs other than the 2 we're gonna talk about. So I will say Temptation. I don't like that song at all. That's way more synth pop. I don't like how it sounds. It's too bubbly and poppy. I like the more emotionless or dark tracks on of this era of New Order. So there's 2 of those songs on the collector's edition, which tanked the score because it's the same song twice and they're both really long, and I don't like either of them. So that hurt the score, but I digress. There was a song In a Lonely Place, great goth track. That's probably the most gothic sounding song on the album. So you probably wouldn't get anything out of it, but I liked it. Everything's Gone Green is okay. A little more of that factory synthy vibe. It's all right. I gave it a 0. Any of the other songs I don't remember. So let's start with Ceremony.
Well, since I listened to the wrong version,
Yeah,
I can still say what I wrote.
Yeah,
but I would rather talk about Procession first because I talk about Ceremony in regards to Procession.
I'm not ready for this. Procession is like my favorite 80s song ever, bro. I'm not kidding. It's like top 3.
Relax. Take a seat. Relax. Let's go. Do whatever you want to do.
I'll say. This is why I'm so pessimistic. This dude was complaining to me. He's like, do I really have to do those other 2 songs? I'm like, it's just 2 songs. What's the big deal? It's like, this whole album sucks. I don't want to do 2 more songs. I'm like, bro, do you know what you're gonna put me through, Aaron? At some point, you're gonna have me listen to
commit
3
suicide.
hours of like brash nonsense, and I'm not.
Have you not done that before?
No.
You've never listened to brash nonsense.
No, I don't try to listen to that music.
You don't try to, but you have.
Not 3 hours straight worth.
I will never put you through 3 hours straight of that.
Okay, fine. 35 minutes.
You've done 35 straight?
No, I'm saying you probably will have a little goofy, experimental, punk, glitchy, crazy album that's 35 minutes that sounds brash and it sucks to me. But if you're like, oh, and also throw this song on the back end because I like it. I'm not gonna be like, oh man,
I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm expecting him to hate these songs just like he didn't like most of the rest of the album.
Okay, so can we talk about Procession?
Should I talk about it first?
Sure.
Okay. So weirdly enough, this was a relatively unsuccessful single from the Movement era that genuinely might be my favorite 80s song of all time. I love the intro of the song. It is so sick. It's just these like glistening, beautiful atmospheric synths that you hold. They hold the note, they change it. It's like just sounds pretty. It sounds loud and all encompassing. And that happens a few more times, and then they add the bass line over top. And then the synths cut, and then it gets straight into like this great post-punk, awesome banger, great vocal work, great fast-paced drumming. I love the guitars, the bass line and the synths, all sick. The synth is still happening in the background, but it's much, much quieter. I'd say like 40% volume, so it's just more of a background sound. It all sounds so cool together. The guitars, after the vocal parts are done, after he's done singing, the guitars get even more energetic and more post-punk and raw, and it sounds so good. I love how it climaxes. The guitars really build up and get really high energy, and then it just immediately ends back into the synths that opened the track, those beautiful, glistening, atmospheric synths. It is so good. I love every part, every movement of this song. I love it. I guess movement is kind of an ironic term to use, but because that's the name of the album. But
It is?
seriously.
Huh.
Oh, I thought it was called Collector's Edition. Just kidding. Yeah, this song is so good. When I play it in my car, I turn that intro part up. I just let those synths like wash me in a bath of glistening beauty. And then I get smacked with that bass line. That's
Weird.
so good. It's a great song. It's not even that complicated. It's just good. It's just this good banger, 80s banger.
I just realized you could do this with your mouse.
Whoa.
Like move it at just a constant rate across the screen.
I didn't know that either. All right, now tell me why it sucks.
Procession. Although the producer is the same, I like the production and mastering a lot better.
Okay.
Bass stands out more and everything is a bit louder and higher tempo suits the production quality.
That's all you said? Oh, shoot. Let's go.
Take a breather, man. Relax.
I'm so happy to hear that. This song's amazing. If I have around 100 plus threes, this is probably in the top 20, maybe 25. I really love this song. You stole that from me.
I'm just kidding.
I yiked you first. And you're like,
I know, but that's probably the best thing ever. So
I stole the who's they from you, so it's fair. Equal. It's a trade. All right, Ceremony. Beautiful little song. It's just like Dreams Never End. I'd say it's a little better though. I'd say it's a tier above, but like if one is A tier, the other's S tier. You know.
that's it.
No, I'll keep going. It's the first song they made in the lab after Ian committed suicide. It was even written. The lyrics were written by him. I said it's like Dreams Never End, except even more luscious in sound. Has this beautiful little guitar riff, shimmery cymbals, and a hazy guitar that sounds very shoegazy. It sounds very distorted, and you can't really tell what he's playing. It's very fuzzy. It sounds awesome. I like the shoegaze sound, and in this 80s context, it's like proto shoegaze type of thing. It sounds really good. I really like it. I also like the distant vocals. I like how it sounds. I think with the shoegazy aesthetic of the song, the nearly unintelligible, distant, mumbly vocals sound good. It adds to the vibe. If you had clear, like, if his vocals were as clear as this podcast is, it wouldn't fit the vibe. Being washed out along with the hazy guitar sounds good. I like it. Sounds great. It's a beautiful sounding song. The showcase of Ian Curtis's brilliance, his depressive lyricism, a perfect blend of both worlds, of the Joy Division and New Order. Perfect blend of the two brilliant, amazing bands, even though it's almost the exact same band. So that's what I said.
Ceremony. Weirdly sits in the middle of the album original tracklist and Procession for me in terms of production quality and whatnot. Not as good as Procession, but better than the rest of the album.
Oh, okay. So I knew, dude, these two songs are better than the entire album. That's why I added them.
Yeah, but I listened to the wrong one too.
For real, huh? I forgot about
I bet it would
that.
be a lot more like Procession if I heard the right one.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the hymn in terms of being mundane and still not as mundane as the hymn. I think the guitar makes it a little bit more memorable.
Dang. I wish I could get you to just throw on your headphones and listen to that real quick and then get back to me. But it's like a 4-minute track, so.
You don't want to do that to me, do you?
I guess not. I never.
I owe it to you one day.
Yeah, I guess write in the comments after you've listened to it. Write in the comment of the video.
I have now listened to it. I have nothing else to say.
That would be funny. He's like, oh wait, no, that was the one I listened to. So yeah, let's get into the.
Well, I got some personal discussion stuff.
Oh god, I forgot about
So, the side note I already talked about. Why I hate describing why I dislike songs. I already talked about the lyrics aren't relatable.
Okay.
The pop nature of the album is small but noticeable and allows a unique sound to be captured, but pop never really did touch me more complex emotional style of music.
Yeah, New Order eventually morphed into like a synth pop, like house. It's almost like house. Like the album. Was it
And
called?
House is okay live. It's really great, but
Right.
where my headphones, I'm not a huge fan
I
of House.
think Ian Curtis was leading the band in that more dark and gloomy direction, and then so once he passed away, they're like, okay, let's try being a little more fun with it, and it's not very strong on this album. There's still a very very lingering presence of Ian Curtis in this album, but you could see album for album I get more and more in that danceability. I haven't heard. Well, there's one album in between Power, Corruption, and Lies and the album. I think it's called Technical or Technicality, something like that. It's got this crazy statue. It's with a hot pink background. It's all crazy looking. There's another album. I think it's called Brotherhood. In between those that I haven't heard at all. So maybe that's darker than this, and it's just like, and I'm completely wrong. But from my understanding, it goes progressively more danceable with each album. And I prefer this with it being the least danceable because I agree pop usually doesn't hit me as much as more emotionally potent stuff. I don't like fun is not as strong and touching of an emotion for me when I'm listening to music as
I agree.
other emotions.
I agree. Next.
Yeah.
Next. I'm just kidding. So post-punk kind of includes like the Smiths, the Police, Television, Depeche Mode, New Order, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, the B-52s.
Did you look this up, or is this your own list?
This is what I looked up that I'm familiar with. All this music that I'm familiar with.
The Smiths really came up as post-punk? Huh. I guess early the Smiths, or like Hatful of Hollow. That type of material.
I mean, I comment on that a little. This genre is much too broad for me because I only see very small amounts of similarities between these bands.
Oh yeah, seriously.
I think it's safe to say that the elements of post-punk are in the sounds of all these artists, but the artist music is mostly dominated by another genre.
Which is typically like new wave, or like
Yeah,
that's fair. I would say this album is more directly post-punk, as it is literally the album after like the figurehead of the genre of post-punk died. So I'd say Joy Division is like quintessential post-punk, and this album is just a little step away from that, like one movement away from post-punk. But you can feel the punk energy in a lot of Joy Division.
This is where I trash on the album. This last statement. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna read it.
I figured.
This has to be some of my least favorite music. I think the emotions they are trying to connect with are facade, superficial emotions that feign complexity. It reminds me of a lot of Depeche Mode, which I heard a lot from my mother growing up, and I hated it. I really think this is it's the production that kills me, but I'm glad this is their last album with Hannett, the producer, and I also think that their name, New Order, is really bad. That is a terrible name.
Sick.
No, it sounds stupid. It sounds, again, like it's trying to feign complexity. It's trying to be, like, pseudo-woke.
Who are you to say what's genuine complexity and not, though? Like, what
I'm
makes
not,
it pseudo?
but my opinion of complexity is what makes me feel like it's bad. Like, somebody else might like it because their opinion of complexity or whatever is different. But to me, I'm like, this is terrible.
So terrible, huh?
That's my one paragraph that just trashes the album.
That reminds me of when I showed you Milo, the rapper, because his whole thing is like, he uses big words and he makes like obscure references and this, that, and the other. And you literally told me like, this is the worst album I've ever listened to in my life. And it's probably because I see it, I'm like, this is a smart dude who's using clever words because it's more interesting to him. So he likes to do that. But you probably take it as, oh, he's trying so hard to come off as smart, but he's probably just stupid and like in reality. But
I don't necessarily think that it's stupid in reality, but it's definitely like unnecessary and pretentious.
Pretentious?
I think so.
Well, as the prog guy, I cannot comment on pretentiousness as a native quality. So I literally I'll just take it.
But it's not the album, it's the genre.
Okay.
And
I can't wait for us to get into prog then, if this is pretentious.
I like prog way more than this.
Oh, that's like the pretentious genre.
Yeah, but I'm probably like pretentious in the same way that they're pretentious.
Oh,
so
okay. It's a different.
it personally
Yeah,
connects.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but
That
this
makes
is like, oh my bro.
So we might see our first blue. We might see our first blue thumbnail.
We will see our first blue thumbnail because my score is -84.
84, huh? -84.
-84.
Straight across the board.
The hymn, remember I said was mundane, just
That's your favorite song.
and then I had a 1 on I.C.B. and everything.
Oh, you liked
else.
I.C.B.
I hated these two,
Senses,
3 and
okay.
4, and everything else
Chosen
was like, I
Time's
don't
a
like
little
this.
Cringe. I mean, it's fine, but I could see it being like kind of like too 80s. Could be 80s overload for some people. Dreams Never End is dislikable. Oh, it's the lyrics you didn't like, eh? Now, where would Procession and Ceremony be? 0 or 1?
0, probably zeros. I don't think they're better than
Straight
I.C.B.
zeros. Okay. Now my score is very, 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 very different. Let's first talk about.
Here we go.
Let's first talk about the collector's edition.
Okay.
106. Hour and 30 minutes of music.
So I like a lot of albums more than you like this album.
This is the collector's edition.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
There's plenty of songs on here on the collector's half that I don't like. Temptation especially. I don't even remember Cries and Whisper or Hurt and Mesh. They're not even on Spotify, Hurt and Mesh.
Ceremony, the other version is +2 for you.
Yeah, I love that song. I love both,
Okay.
but
one is favorable.
Amazing. It's like I probably would love the other version of I Want You She's So Heavy, but I Want You She's So Heavy, the studio version, is one of my favorite songs of all time. So of course the song that sounds very similar is also going to be, similarly likable.
Fair enough.
Right? So
damn, you're really a huge fan of Dreams Never End, huh? And the hymn.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's get to the real album here. 149.
So I still like plenty of albums more than you like this album.
So it's straight across the boards ones, except the hymn and Dreams Never End. Dreams Never End touches
I.C.B.
me.
+1 with Truth and Senses, Senses and Chosen Time.
I like the sound of all of it.
But I.C.B. is clearly better than those.
I don't agree.
That should be a +2, right?
I don't find it clearly better than Truth.
I mean, not Truth, but Senses and Chosen Time. You think I.C.B. and Chosen Time are the same?
I like listening to both of them.
Fair enough.
That's all. Fundamentally, that's all that means. I like them both. So yeah. I mean, -84 is strong, but I know you're gonna have.
It was worse, and I kind of was like, went my second listen, and I was like, okay, these don't have to be as extreme.
Yeah, so I'm expecting you are gonna have. I don't know if I'll ever have a -84 unless we're both doing an album going into it that we know is horrible. I don't think I'm gonna unintentionally just come across a -84. And if you prove me wrong, then God bless you.
We'll see.
I feel like I just don't dislike music as much as you have a propensity to.
Well, I have a propensity to like music more frequently and dislike music more frequently.
Yeah.
Like I have more extreme highs and lows.
I have nothing.
Which makes a lot of sense for me.
0 negative reviews. Almost everything is in like the low or like high 10s to low 100s. 10s? Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
10s would be anything from 10 to 100.
I'd say 50 to 100 is where most of my albums lie. Just like, yeah, I kind of liked it. Boom.
I can't do that. I hear something and I'm like, dude, this is like, I don't want to hear this.
Fair. So
like I can groove to pretty much anything while it's playing.
Yeah.
But like in my own personal time, or if I'm having like a moment of like, this is going to be a good moment, a good day, I do not want to hear this. I don't know. I remember this day by this album.
So when you told me that you're adding every album we review into your personal library, I did not think that you would hold true to that. Are you still?
Yes.
You're adding this album into your library. With what intention?
The intention that I've heard it and that I can talk about it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I rarely shuffle all my stuff.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
pretty much never. I'm either looking for something
True,
specifically
'cause
or I
you haven't even
shuffle a
heard,
vibe
you haven't
list.
even heard like a few, like 100 albums on there, huh?
I have about 2,000 albums, and there's probably about 250 that I haven't heard. So
Yeah, my library, it takes a lot of work to get into my library.
my library is just big and
Mhm.
just stuff that I can reference and be like this song, and then I don't have to look it up, and I can just. I mean, I guess it might take longer to actually search through my library for it than to look it up, but I just don't like the format of like the search bar and the search engine for Apple Music. Like I just like going through like artists, click album, click song, click
I see.
that kind of thing. Instead of all these different versions and a bunch of different songs all called the same thing. I hate that. I hate searching through that pile of unorganized BS. So
Okay, so it is not my favorite. It is my third favorite 80s album, but I don't recommend it.
I do.
What? What?
I recommend it. Go listen to it. I recommend everything.
Except there's been something you didn't recommend.
Black Sabbath, but I recommend that too.
You
I
did
recommend
not.
everything. I don't know what kind of person anybody is,
Here's what I
and the
will
average
say.
person doesn't exist, and it has to be. I have to know the person. I'm not going to recommend it to some people, but to my idea of the average person, they could be a random probability of complexity, and they might like it. So there you go.
Here's
Listen
what I'll
to
say.
it.
If you're
I
a
can't recommend
proponent
things.
Oh, really? So you're just always gonna recommend everything?
It-
Nah, you're not gonna recommend.
It would come down to the person, not come down to
But-
the average person or the average viewer or
But
whatever.
when we eventually talk about the stuff that we know is real trash, you're not gonna be like, yeah, go wait, take your time out
That's a
of your
good
day
point.
to listen to this.
That's a good point. I will
Okay.
probably say don't. But like a negative 84 isn't that extreme.
So do you think New Order is an untalented band, or is it just not your thing? Because there's a very big difference. Like with sorry, to
Right. I'm
always-
trying to
so-
recognize that difference. And
we always bring it back to Hollywood Undead, but they are genuinely bad at making music. They are bad at making music.
what was the original question that you just asked me? Because you phrased it a really good
New
way.
Order is not talented at making music? They are not a talented band.
We've talked about this with Oscar before, that I don't think you can really be talented
Oh,
at
yeah,
making
you
music,
that.
but I think it's just because like making music isn't hard. Once you start doing it, it comes out naturally through like who you are. And if I were to go by that, which I do, I would say no, I do not think they're talented.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure other people who do identify with this kind of music would think that they're amazingly talented, and that's fine. And I can understand why.
Okay. All right. All right. Fair, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it is professionally produced music, so I guess they're talented in that sense.
That's generous, but so here's what I'll say. If you're really into 80s, then you will like this album for sure, for sure, for sure. It's underrated in the New Order discography. It's underrated in the New Wave discography. You will like it. It's got some quirks in it.
I recommend
You're
it.
gonna like it. If you're into 80s, you're gonna really like it. But if you are just a living person with a functioning brain,
No, not you. You know who I'm talking to. Not you.
No, and I don't mean functioning brain in like a facetious way. I just mean like literally, you are conscious. That's all. You're just a human who is conscious. I really recommend Procession and Ceremony. Make sure it's the way more popular version of Ceremony, the singles, the version that was on the singles. If it says like alternate edition or like, September 1981 edition, that's not the one. It's the January 1981, the singles, the original, like the first one to come out. Those two songs are so good. Amazing songs. And I mean, while you're at it, Dreams Never End and The Hymn wouldn't hurt. But if I had to get anything out of you guys, just listen to those two songs. Just those two. It's only going to be less than 10 minutes of your time. It's okay. You can do it. I promise. You got this.
And with that, we bid the homeland and the wives of a past
Oh,
glory.
they're not watching. They clicked off to go listen to those songs.
Oh, okay, well then.